Meantime, voters headed to the polls in the Philippines today in their presidential election. Filipinos are not only choosing a new president and vice president, but casting ballots in thousands of national, congressional, and local races.
Yeah, 5 candidates are in the running to succeed current President Benigno Aquino III. Now, the votes are still being counted, but right now, the front-runner is a tough-talking mayor who has promised to end corruption, crime, and poverty. And the son of a late dictator, Ferdinand Marcos, is holding a narrow lead in the race for vice president. We want to go now to Ken with more on these elections.
Well, we're joined now with Ray Mascarinas. He's the community leader and the past president of the Filipino American Chamber of Commerce of San Mateo County. Thanks for joining us, Ray. I know this is getting a lot of attention because of the character of this man who apparently has been elected and will be the next president of the Philippines. Tell us a little bit about him. He's the mayor of Davao City, which is in the southern part of the country, third biggest city in the Philippines. It was plagued by big crime problems, and he's really cleaned up that city, and he's promising to do that for the rest of the country.
That's right, Ken. He was a mayor of Davao City for 20 years. And according to what I heard, if you walk 2 o'clock in the morning, you will be safe. And if something happens to you, he will go to the root cause of it. And he advocates that you should follow the law. You are being paid by the taxpayers' money.
But there were some questions about all of that because he had such a reputation of just trying to take care of crime without really going through the process of a court proceeding and all of that. There were accusations of death squads, assassinating so-called criminals without a trial. They call him Duterte Harry, Dirty Harry, and kind of the Donald Trump, because he's very brash, very outspoken, and he says a lot of controversial things. He talked about the rape of an Australian nun who was attacked at a prison uprising in the Philippines, and said some very distasteful things about that too. But that doesn't seem to have changed people's minds there.
That's true. The people in the Philippines are already fed up for the normal rhetoric that doesn't do any good for the poor people. While Duterte, you know, when he says something, he will give you a warning, and if you don't follow the rule, you most probably you will just, if you don't get out of his city, you will just disappear. I don't know what that means, really.
Well, I got an idea what that might mean.
Okay.
Now, there's a lot of Filipino Americans in the Bay Area. You said there's about 3 million Filipino Americans in California, and I know a lot of them travel back and forth to the Philippines. What are you hearing from your fellow Filipino Americans about this election in particular?
I think the result of the election, the way I see it, it really reflects the will of the people.
And they're happy with it.
And they are happy with it, yeah.
Now, I got to say, I lived in the Philippines when I was stationed there in the Navy back in the 80s when Ferdinand Marcos was the president and Nino Aquino was assassinated when he returned to the country to try to challenge him in an election. How do you think this is going to affect U.S. relations with the Philippines? There's been some talk of maybe reopening those U.S. military bases in the Philippines. Do you think he is in favor of that?
I believe so, because right now the Philippines, we are not in a position to defend ourselves. So basically, we still need to be dependent from the United States to defend whatever intruder coming into the country.
And there's concerns about China right now that it's taken some islands in the South China Sea that the Philippines has claimed as their islands. Vietnam is in the middle of this. China has built an airfield on one of those islands, which has caused some tension in that area. So that might be one reason that the United States might get called back into affairs in that part of the world.
I believe the United States is still welcome, and they are doing that already by parking one of the biggest aircraft carrier that we have around here.
Right. Ray Mascarinas, thank you very much for joining us, and we're going to keep an eye on the situation in the Philippines as this election count continues, but it looks like Duterte is going to be the new president.